Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Questions and Answers with Clayton, where you ask your real estate questions and I, Clayton, answer them. Today's question comes from Susie, and Susie asks, Clayton, what happens if my house appraises above or under what I'm purchasing it for? That's a great question, Susie, and let's break it down a couple of different ways. Let's break it down as the seller and as the buyer. So as the seller, we have our house under contract at $400,000 and life is good. So the appraiser is going to come out, appraise the property, and then eventually you'll get notice from your agent or the lender that the property hopefully made value, and that means it hit $400,000 or above. You'll never know unless they send you that report, which is pretty rare, what it actually appraised for. But be happy, you're able to move forward, get to closing, and move off to greener pastures. So what happens if it comes below that $400,000? Well, let's say it only appraised at $350,000. That'd be horrible and nobody would want that. But let's just say it did. So there's a couple things that could happen. You could reduce down to that $350,000. The buyer could bring an additional $50,000 to the closing table if they're able to do that, or you can meet somewhere or anywhere in between, whether it's 25-25 or 40-10. It really depends on you and it depends on the buyer. So the biggest downside for the seller, and it really does stink, is the fact of if it does only appraise at $350 and you are VA or FHA, unfortunately you're stuck at that price. Now you could go sell cash or conventional for $1 million still, but the FHA and VA guys for a certain amount of time will only be able to purchase at that $350,000 mark. So you also have the case where it did underappraise, let's say at $350. Sounds like a mistake, wouldn't it? Especially that big of a difference. And mistakes happen. We're all human. Appraisers do make mistakes. So when you hire a true professional, hopefully they're able to go to battle for you with that appraisal report. So what we do is get a hold of it, we look it all over, see what mistakes are made. Perfect example is I had clients and their house underappraised by $20,000, and I was actually on the buyer's side this time around. Made no sense whatsoever, and as I started going through that report, I found a bunch of errors. It was almost like it was a draft version of the appraisal, and they accidentally sent the draft instead of the final product. So we went to battle and we got the appraisal up $20,000 very easily, because that's what the comp showed, and we moved on, we moved to closing. So hopefully if you have that true professional, they're able to go to battle for you and get that appraisal up, so buyers don't have to bring extra money, you don't have to drop, and you don't have a sour taste in your mouth. So as a buyer, how does it sit? It's simple, kind of like with a seller. So if we've got our $400,000 house, let's say it appraised at $500,000. Congratulations, you have $100,000 of equity in a home that you haven't even closed on yet. So you'd be on cloud nine if that ever happened. You really should be. If it appraised at $400,000, great, you're still moving forward, going to closing. And something to remember is, here in Texas at least, you don't have to give that appraisal report over to the seller. So they don't need to know what it appraised for. You're not going to have to bring extra money to the table or the seller make extra money. So again, congratulations. So just like the seller, if that appraisal came back at $350, same exact thing. Either you're bringing extra money, or the seller's coming down, or you're meeting somewhere in the middle. If you hire the true professional, they're going to go out and go to battle for you. And you could kind of direct your agent and say, hey, I don't want you to battle this at all. I want to get it lower or else we're going to walk. Or you could look at your agent and say, there's nothing on the market. This is our dream home. Go to battle for us. See what you can make happen. So those are your options. It's pretty simple. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, Clayton, so how can I prevent having appraisal issues, whenever I go to write an offer, and make sure I don't run into issues whatsoever? Or maybe I'm listing my house and I want to make sure I'm not overlisted so I run into any issues like this. So it's pretty simple. Get with your real estate professional. Look at the comparable properties in the area. Is there a lack of inventory? Because if there is, you could get a little bit more. The house will be worth a little bit more. But what if there's a ton of inventory in the area? Then it'll be a little bit harder to justify a higher price if you have a bunch of really easy comparable properties that say it's worth a different amount. So do your due diligence in the very beginning, either before you list the property or before you write the offer, and make sure that you don't see anything that'll be wrong there. Just remember that appraisals are opinion of price by an appraiser. So you could send 20 appraisers in, you'll get 20 different square footages, you'll get different, 20 different prices. It just really depends on that appraiser that goes out there. So you always run a risk, doesn't matter how black and white things can be, but again, lean on your professional. Thanks for joining another episode of Real Estate Questions and Answers with Clayton. Don't forget, leave a comment below if you have any of your own real estate questions. If you learned something in this video, smash that like button, and don't forget, knowledge is power, so subscribe for more. See ya.